Welcome in to another episode of the Real Estate Minute Show. Thanks for coming in today. We are going to talk about where people have moved in 2022. It's kind of the migration report that was just published. United States migration, by the way. We'll get into it in 1 second. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning into the show. And we're going to talk about migration moves. So every year, the National Association of Realtors and other people put out a kind of where did everybody go in the previous year. So the Census Bureau hasn't necessarily published all that data yet, but the post office, these folks who did all this research, I didn't do the research, I'm dumb. But those folks who did all the research contact the post office, and that's where you get a lot of the data, because that's where you put in your move requests. People lie on the census, right? Or they don't return their census thing. So I don't know. I mean, I kind of trust the census. We trust it a lot, but post offices, I don't know, maybe more trustworthy. Anyway, so let's get into the migration report. So very interesting. People in the past have always moved, or generally moved, for various reasons. One is way too expensive in one state. They move to another state. But a lot of times it's been job transfers, like in the past. There's a lot of research that shows that. Job transfers and family issues. Be close to family, take care of elderly family members. A lot of really the three top reasons why people are relocating, really since just before the pandemic. This isn't just pandemic stuff. This has been going on for a while. People have been kind of like rejiggering themselves around the country. The top three really are less expensive, so that's really no big difference, but it's much more at the top of the list. Taxes, huge issue, which I'll tell you what that means in a sec. It's more than just money. And third is kind of political bends has become a huge thing in our culture. And obviously, as you know, people want to, it's unfortunate, but people want to hang out with people that think exactly like they do, which I think is probably one of the worst things that can happen and leads to civil war. But oh my, again, I'm just an idiot, like I said earlier. So people are moving around the country. We all know that. We've all heard about that. And this is the data, okay? And I am apolitical. I'm a middle-of-the-road guy, so this is not a politics kind of thing, but we're going to touch on it. Before I get there real quickly, the issue with taxes as one of the top three reasons why people move, it's, again, as I said before, it's not just the money. Money is important, because paying zero tax versus paying 13% in California, for instance, someone's going to decide to move, possibly. I did. It wasn't just the taxes, but that was one reason. But it's also that people are losing lots of trust in their government, local, state, and Fed, and they don't want to pay taxes to anybody because they think that they could do a better job with their own money than the government can do with their money. I 100% agree with that. That's the only political thing I will say. I'm better with my money than Washington is with my money. But here we go. Here's the data. We're keeping those three things in mind: less expensive, taxes, and kind of political bends. The top 5 states of net migration in 2022. This is positive net migration. Net migration means what's left over after all the people came in last year, and then what's left after all the people left. So this means in Florida, for instance, there was 318,000 more people net that are in the state in 2022 than were before the beginning of that year. Okay. Texas, 230. North Carolina, almost 100,000. That's where I'm sitting right now. South Carolina, 84, where my daughter goes to school. Tennessee, which has almost 82,000. So those are really the top 5. Let's go to the bottom 5. I don't know, should you expect this or not? I've been in California for 52 years. This is hard for me to witness here. It's like, I don't know. It's like watching, a friend over, ODing on drugs. It's like a terrible feeling to see this. California is on the bottom of the list at 343 less people just last year. Okay, and I'll tell you why this matters. It's not just people. New York, almost 300,000. Illinois, 141. New Jersey, 64. And Massachusetts, about 57,000. Now, here's the deal. Let's go down the markers here. Number 1, expenses of being in the state, cost of living. Really expensive in these 5 states. California and New York are both the most unaffordable states to live in the country right now. California and New York are always like this. Illinois, incredibly expensive, you've seen. New Jersey, a little less expensive. Massachusetts, a little less, but still expensive. These 5 are really the 5 in the top 5 or top 10 of most expensive or less affordable states to live in. These states have been shown to be 5 of the most affordable states to live in, not necessarily from all standpoint of like buying a house, but also in the sense of taxes. So if you go down here also, California, New York, and Illinois have one of the top 3 highest taxes states in the nation. And if you go to Florida and Texas, for instance, they are zero tax. Tennessee, zero tax. So of the top five, three of the five have zero income tax. North Carolina is about 5.5%. Forgot South Carolina. But nevertheless, about the same. So there's a tax and affordability issue in both. Okay, very, very clear, very starking. Now, here's the issue with the political bent, if you look at it, and just kind of take it with what you know and what you've seen and read. The top five states here tend to be more conservative. Tennessee, very conservative state. South Carolina, very conservative state. North Carolina tends more towards conservatism, but it is slightly purple. Texas is always been very conservative, is tilting a little bit purple because people are moving into the state. Florida is very conservative. Okay, so there's way more of a political conservative bend here in the top five. On the bottom five, there is very much a Democratic, progressive, more liberal type political bend in Massachusetts, New Jersey, Illinois, New York, California for sure. That's what the data is showing. I think it's interesting to kind of look at that data just from the standpoint of understanding all the reasons for it. And there's a lot more than just the top three, but those are really the three most important things that we talk to clients about. Our business, Michelle and our business in California over the last 3 years have been, I would say probably, we looked it up, like over 65%, almost 70% when I looked at it last time, 68 and some, of people that we've relocated out of state, not just out of city. This is real. And so it's very interesting. And the last bonus thing here is that it has a real big impact on federal politics. And you're asking me, Jay, how do you know? You said you're an idiot, and I am. But the only thing I do is I read a lot. But I did know that a couple of years ago, California lost an electoral college seat. They're now at 54 instead of 55. So these population declines have real impact when it comes to the federal elections. When you see states like Florida and stuff growing, they're going to be adding electoral seats and having more power when it comes to picking a president and other federal employees, I should say. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. We will see you next week on the show. And thanks for going through all this data with me. Hope your head's not spinning. See you next week.